the hardest thing to always have to do when you start one of these things is have to get used to using new stuff. Now, some of you folks have got the finances or the means or the connections to get really good tech software, hardware to make some really sharp, clear, impressive looking videos. Some of us are working off of a 2-bit laptop with whatever freebie stuff that came along and are still trying to figure out how to improve things and make things better over time. In this particular case, this is as much of a test vlog as it is, a confession of fact, I guess. Over the New Year, while the family was having a little bit too much holiday cheer, he accidentally spilled a glass of schnapps about this big, schnapps nice, right over top the keyboard. And I've seen the videos, oh, do this, do that, and the other thing. Well, that works great for stuff like water, but it don't work so much for a really sticky, gooey substance like schnapps. And the next morning, like a moron, I got upset and I shut the thing off and I went to bed and got up the next morning with the intentions of trying to figure out how to clean something up. I got the hard drive to work. I was having some serious issues because of some kind of program kept trying to come on repeatedly, and I was shutting it off as fast as it was coming on and was able to download a few things. But in my confusion and irritation and frustration, I didn't go after some of the really crucial files that I had on my computer that I really, really wish I had, because it represents a good part of a year's worth of work lost that I'll have to go back and reconstruct from the ground up. I have hardback copies of them, but still, that's the nature of the beast. And we all hear the mantra, back up, back up, back up. Well, I back up, but not as often as I need to or should, especially on important stuff, which is always a life lesson. This is not the first time I've screwed something up on a computer and lost stuff. And you'd think I'd learned the hard lesson the first time, and I tried to, but we get complacent. Time in life is, it has demands on us, and we're busy, and we can't think of everything, no matter how much some people would like us to remember every little detail every minute of the day. I'm not getting any younger, so, that sort of thing's getting worse as I get older. It is the nature of the beast. So I could sit here and preach all day as an example of back your stuff up. It's important, back it up. And if it's really important, have a backup for the backup. Because one of my backups was in the laptop at the time, plugged in, and it too got saturated. But fortunately, it didn't. It was an SD card, which was fairly easy to clean off. I took the laptop in a couple of days later to a repair shop, and the guy was just appalled by how hard it was to get the cover off, because it literally glued itself down, and to get the hard drive out, because we were going to do a data transfer if possible, and the hard drive's dead. It got gummed up to the point where it wouldn't run. And if you know anything about laptops, and I know the minimal, that this is one of the few moving parts in it. Between that and the CD drive, that's about the only mechanically driven components. So once they got gummed up, that was that. So I lost whatever was on that drive, could not retrieve it, at least not the budget that I had. So we're back to that. I have a new laptop, of course. It is fairly identical to the one I had. It is only a year newer, and yet the entire software base is completely different, and I ran into all kinds of problems trying to resurrect all of my files and my connections and apps, as you guys call them now, the programs that I had loaded up on it. Worst part was that I used Google Chrome, and it has an autosave for most of your passwords. Well, the problem there is that all the passwords are located on your computer in Chrome. So if you cannot access your Google Chrome from your computer, you can't access your history of various passwords. So once again, I tend to be complacent in some aspects. I use the same password and the same identification over and over and over again, just for simplicity. It's not a savvy move, but then I'm not trying to protect it from anybody but me. You're gonna steal my laptop, you're gonna steal it. Why should I go through a lot of there's some financial stuff like my access to my credit card payment system and stuff. Those I enter the password. I don't let it save it. I'm not totally a dunce, right? But life's lessons can be really hard sometimes, and we have to work with it. So now here I am trying to do this trial with this new video. Frankly, and what I'm looking at, the image is much worse than the first one, which was a UCam, which I notice I can get a free version of downloaded. And I might have to look into that. The other laptop came with it. This one here is, I don't know, some kind of Microsoft default. It's just a generic, very low grade, not much in the way of control or functionality. I can't even adjust the clarity or anything like that. It just is listed as camera in the apps section, which, I don't know, at least it works. Because in truth, this is actually the second laptop we bought. We ran out the New Year's Day and bought a brand new laptop, which was exactly identical to the one I had, except once again, it had a bunch of different software on it because it's been a year since I bought the first one, and which kind of surprised me. I shouldn't have, but it did. And then it ran into some terrible problems with, for starters, the camera function on that one wouldn't work at all, and you couldn't save. And then there was other issues. Now this one here has issues. I have yet to figure them out. I'm slow when it comes to some of this stuff. For example, I have several, like Civilization 5, I have several video games that worked on my other laptop that don't want to work on this one, which I don't get. I mean, the software shouldn't be that damn different. It's still Windows 10. It doesn't, I'm not a tech savvy person when it comes to this sort of stuff. I never wanted to be. Enough issues and things in my life to worry about. I want my VCR to work. I just plug it in. We don't even use VCRs anymore to see how far back I am. I just turn it on, plug and play, right? That's why that stuff came about, was for people like me. I want to use my time on creative pursuits and practices that I can then eventually lose on a laptop hard drive because I'm too stupid to back it up on a regular basis. Oof, that one hurt. It is what it is. What can you do but churn forward, and maybe from that it'll be a better, the next go around will be a better version of the first one. It just, then there's those lost files and pictures and photos and stuff that I kept, some of them, my late mother and a few other things that, you can't replace those. And I don't have backups for them. If I do, I can't find them. That's not to say I don't, but we moved twice, more or less, this last year. A lot of stuff went into storage, and a lot of stuff got jumbled up. I just set up a den, if you will, a workspace at my mother's house when she passed away, and we had to pack it all back up and put it back in storage. So there's possible some of the stuff got backed up, but it won't do me any good if I want to work on the projects I've been working on. So back to square one, right? There you go. If you get any advice from any of this, back up your backups. Become anal about it. Soon you're going to ruin something. Not if, not maybe, but that you will. And be prepared for it as best you can. There's a legitimate, honest need to do that sort of thing, especially the stuff you're working on is important. And the second source is making sure that you keep a written log of all your passwords and your access, titles or names or whatever. Even if you use the same one over and over again, sometimes they just don't let you, and you have to do a variant. And that variant gets ignored. You forget it once you set it up because your computer will automatically just log you in until you can't. Then you got to go through a whole lot of BS to get back on. I'm still trying to straighten that stuff out for the second time. Because remember, I said I got a laptop the day after the ruined the first one, and then it wouldn't work. So we took it back 2 days later and got this one, which works a little better, a little more expensive. It's the same model and brand. For all I can see, most of the same mechanic functions, same memory capacity, so on and so forth, and yet the software in it somehow is worse than the one that was in the first one I got last year. Like I said, I don't quite pretend to understand how or why these companies set these things up this way. So, back on the layer, back on the vids, see if this thing works. Hope I can save it. Hope I can upload it, blah, blah, blah. And back up your backups, my friends. Back up your backups.